A reading from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 27, verses 27 through 44. On the 14th night, as we were still being driven about on the Adriatic Sea, toward midnight, the sailors began to suspect that they were nearing land. They took soundings and found 20 fathoms. A little farther on, they again took soundings and found 15 fathoms. Fearing that we would run aground on a rocky coast, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for day to come. The sailors then tried to abandon ship. They lowered the dinghy to the sea on the pretext of going to lay out anchors from the bow. But Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, "Unless these men stay with the ship, you cannot be saved." So the soldiers cut the ropes of the dinghy and set it adrift. Until the day began to dawn, Paul kept urging all to take some food. He said, "Today is the 14th day that you have been waiting, going hungry and eating nothing. I urge you, therefore, to take some food. It will help you survive. Not a hair of the head of any one of you will be lost." When he said this, he took bread, gave thanks to God in front of them all, broke it, and began to eat. They were all encouraged and took some food themselves. In all, there were 276 of us on the ship. After they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship by throwing the wheat into the sea. When day came, they did not recognize the land, but made out a bay with a beach. They planned to run the ship ashore on it, if they could. So they cast off the anchors and abandoned them to the sea. And at the same time, they unfastened the lines of the rudders and hoisted the foresail into the wind. They made for the beach, but they struck a sandbar and ran the ship aground. The bow was wedged in and could not be moved, but the stern began to break up under the pounding of the waves. The soldiers planned to kill the prisoners so that none might swim away and escape. But the centurion wanted to save Paul, and so kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and get to the shore, and then the rest, some on planks, others on debris from the ship. In this way, all reached shore safely. We hear today this adventure of Paul, shipwrecked and swimming or doggy paddling to shore. I was reading a little bit about this phenomenon called ghost ships. Ghost ships. So the way that a ship works is it's buoyant. It floats on top of the water because it weighs less than the water that it is displacing. And the heavier the ship is, the lower the ship rides. Now, some of the early things that we saw was they got rid of supplies. Then today, they get rid of the anchors and the food. Why? Because then the ship weighs less and it displaces less water. It floats higher up. It's less likely to scrape on a sandbar. Now, when the people get out of the ship, as the people get out, the ship also is lighter and lighter. If there's 200 people on the ship, 200 times, if we average 200 pounds, you're saying 40,000 pounds, 4,000 pounds, 40,000 pounds of people that are making this ship lighter and making it float. Now, another thing, many of these ships weren't designed for long sea voyages. They were designed to be docked every day and the ship to be lifted out of the water and carried ashore so that it could dry, so that the logs themselves would weigh less, the boards themselves, when they put it back in the water. So I'm not sure what kind of ship, but they weren't as waterproof as modern fiberglass or metal ships. Now we have some people who could swim, most likely the sailors, most likely the fishermen, most likely anyone who had lived near water, and you have people who can't swim, maybe people who didn't live near water. And fulfilling the prophecy that Paul had made, none of them would die. We also see Paul encouraging people to eat. Maybe they had been fasting, praying to their gods, praying to Neptune whoever they might, to try and appease him, say, oh, if we will fast, or maybe they were fasting out of fear. But Paul encourages them, take some food so that you have your strength, so that we can swim to shore. And then he encourages them, not a hair of the head of any one of you will be lost.